there comes a moment, not loud, not glorious, when a human soul quietly decides it has had enough. Enough of shrinking, enough of breaking, enough of surrendering its fire just to feel safe. You do not arrive at strength through comfort. You arrive because you are broken and chose not to stay that way. The world may never see the war you fought in silence, but you did, and that is enough, because there is a version of you on the other side of this pain, silent, unshakable, profound, not built by winds, but by everything that tried to destroy you and failed. This isn't a story about hope, it's about becoming untouchable. Watch till the end, hit subscribe, and remember, the real change begins now. There's a moment that comes, not when you're winning, but when you've lost everything familiar. When the floor gives out beneath you, and the world you built piece by careful piece crumbles in your hands. That's where it begins, not in the rise, in the ruin. You stand there, in the aftermath, not as who you were, but as what remains. And for a while, you don't even recognize yourself. The titles are gone, the roles stripped, the people who said they'd never leave, already fading like fog. You look in the mirror and wonder who's left, when there's nothing left. It's disorienting, it's brutal, but it's real, because what you're looking at isn't weakness. It's not failure, it's the foundation, the raw, exposed version of you, the one that doesn't perform, doesn't pretend, doesn't need to hold it together for anyone anymore. And maybe that's where the shift starts, because somewhere in that quiet collapse, you start to hear something different. It's not the voice of panic anymore. It's not shame. It's not the running monologue that told you to keep hustling, keep chasing, keep proving. It's silence. And inside that silence, there's something else. It's not loud. It doesn't beg to be noticed. But it's there, still, unshaken, unchanged. It's the part of you that never left, even when everything else did. That part is not a mask. It's not a title. It's not some version of success you were told to pursue. It's the core, the root, the soul beneath the structure. And it doesn't need fixing. It doesn't need validation. It just needs space. See, real strength isn't what people see when you're on the mountaintop. It's what survives inside you when the storm has taken everything. It's what you discover when life digs its hands into your chest and tears out the things you thought you couldn't live without, and somehow, you're still breathing. Not easily, not without scars, but still breathing. That's the strength. No one talks about the kind that doesn't scream for attention, but grows in the dark. The kind you don't even know you have, until having it is the only thing that keeps you going. This isn't about rising fast. It's about standing still in the wreckage and realizing that you don't have to rebuild everything the way it was. Because maybe, just maybe, the version of you that's emerging now is the one you were always meant to meet. Not the one shaped by success, but the one born from the ashes. The one that didn't break, the one that stayed. You tried to run from it. You tried to outthink it, numb it, outrun it, anything to not feel it. That ache in your chest, that weight in your bones, the pain that wouldn't go away no matter how much you smiled, worked, or distracted yourself. And for a while, it felt like punishment. Like life had chosen you as the target and refused to stop swinging. And when you were in it, really in it, it didn't feel like something you could learn from. It felt like destruction, like something inside you was being burned down. And maybe it was, but not the part you thought. You see, you were never being punished. You were being forged. There's a difference. The pain didn't come to break you. It came to show you what inside you couldn't be broken. You feared it because you didn't understand what it was shaping. Because transformation never feels beautiful when it's happening. It feels like loss. It feels like chaos. It feels like being stripped of everything that made you feel certain, everything that made you feel in control. But there's a truth underneath that chaos, and it doesn't come with comfort. It comes with fire. Pain is the blacksmith, and you, You are the metal. When you were cracked open by heartbreak, it wasn't the end of your ability to love. It was the beginning of learning to love without losing yourself. When you were rejected, it wasn't because you weren't enough. It was life cutting away the parts of you that begged to be accepted by people who never saw you clearly to begin with. When you failed, and failed again, and doubted everything, it wasn't life trying to humiliate you. It was teaching you to build something real, something sustainable, something that doesn't collapse the moment someone else stops clapping. You weren't being crushed. You were being carved. And that carving hurt. It still does. Because growth never knocks politely. It comes in like a storm, and it asks everything of you. But once the storm clears, you start to notice you're still here. And maybe you're not weaker because of what you went through. Maybe you're heavier, denser, sharper, not harder in a defensive way, but refined in a way that doesn't bend under pressure anymore. What scarred you also shaped you. That's not something you need to justify. That's something you need to recognize. Because the next time you feel the fire, and it will return, you won't run from it like before. You'll remember that you've been here, you survived it, and every time it tried to take you, all it really did was give you more of yourself. More clarity, more depth, more strength. Pain wasn't the enemy, it was your maker. There are battles no one sees, fights that happen in silence. You walk into a room and smile like nothing's wrong, but inside, something follows you, something heavy, something loud, even when the world is quiet. And the worst part is, it's not coming from out there, it's coming from in here. Your mind becomes the battleground. You replay old memories like they just happened. Moments you regret, words you wish you could take back, things you should have done differently. And somehow, even though time has passed, the shame hasn't. The guilt still sits in your chest like it belongs there. And you start to believe the lie, that because you made a mistake, you are a mistake. That's how the ghosts get in. They're not monsters. They're not strangers. They sound like you. They look like truth, but they're not. They're old echoes, guilt, shame, regret, circling your thoughts like vultures, feeding on your doubt. And every time you try to move forward, they whisper, "You're not allowed. You've built a prison out of your past." But let me tell you something. You're not meant to live there. What happened, happened. You can't erase it. You can't rewrite it. But you can stop bleeding from wounds you've already healed. You can stop carrying the weight that was never meant to be permanent, because you are not your worst day. You are the one who lived through it. You are not the mistake. You are the one who refused to stay broken by it. But nothing changes until you stop running, because the ghosts don't chase you. They live in your shadow, and the only way to get rid of them is to stop, turn around, and face what you've avoided for too long. It'll hurt. It'll feel like ripping something out of your own chest. But when you finally look at it, not through shame, not through fear, but through honesty, you'll realize something. Those ghosts, they're powerless without your permission. They can't define your future unless you let them. They can't speak for you unless you keep your mouth shut. They are echoes of pain, not your identity. You don't need saving. You need clearing. Not from the world, from the lies you've told yourself. That you're unforgivable. That you're unworthy. That your past disqualifies you from becoming someone more. The truth, you're already more. You've already grown. The person you are today is not the same one who made those choices. You've outlived the shame, outlasted the regret, and now, it's time to stop letting ghosts sit in the driver's seat of your life, because you're still here. And if you're still here, then you still have a say in who you become. You kept trying to hold it all together, every detail, every outcome, every person. You carried the weight like it was your job to make sure nothing broke, no one left, and nothing slipped through the cracks. And maybe you got good at it, good at keeping up appearances, at anticipating the next disaster, at thinking 10 steps ahead just to stay afloat. But somewhere along the way, you stopped breathing, because control isn't power, it's pressure. And the more you clung to it, the more life reminded you how little of it you actually had. You thought if you planned enough, worked hard enough, prepared for every outcome, you'd be safe, you'd be secure. But life doesn't play by your rules. It doesn't move on your timeline. It doesn't care how tightly you grip the wheel. Sometimes, it takes a sharp left without warning, and you're left with the truth. That no amount of control will protect you from what's meant to come. That certainty is an illusion. That gripping harder only creates more pain. And that's when the real lesson begins. Not when you finally fix everything, but when you stop trying to. Not when life bends to your will, but when you let go of the need to bend it. Surrender isn't giving up. It's giving in to something deeper, something older than fear. It's the moment you stop forcing and start trusting, not in luck, not in outcomes, but in your own ability to handle whatever comes, even if it's not what you wanted. Because here's the part no one tells you. Letting go doesn't weaken you, it frees you. It frees you from the lie that you're responsible for everyone's happiness. It frees you from the anxiety of trying to predict a future you were never meant to control. And it frees your energy, all that energy you wasted resisting, calculating, bracing for impact, and redirects it into something real. Presence, clarity, strength. The chaos you feared, it's still there, but now it doesn't own you. Because when you stop resisting it, it stops controlling you. You start to see what's actually yours to carry, and what isn't. You stop living in reaction and start moving from intention. Not because everything is calm now, but because you are. You surrendered the fight to be in control, and found the power to respond. That's the shift. That's when your life begins to realign, not because the storm disappears, but because you stopped trying to outrun it and started walking straight through it. And in that moment, you realize the truth. It was never about control. It was about trust, not in the plan, but in yourself. It gets loud out there. So loud you forget what quiet even feels like. Opinions, notifications, deadlines, expectations. Everyone pulling at you to respond, to react, to stay relevant, to keep going. And in that endless noise, something starts to slip away without you noticing. Yourself. You start living in reaction. You wake up already behind. You answer texts you don't mean, make promises you can't keep, say yes when your whole body is screaming no. You move so fast trying to prove you're okay, that you don't even stop long enough to ask if you are. And then one day, it gets quiet. Not peaceful, just empty. Maybe it's because someone left. Maybe it's because the job ended. Or maybe it's just because the distractions finally stopped working. And suddenly, you're sitting alone with your own thoughts. And it feels like a stranger just walked into the room. That silence, it's not comfortable. It's raw. It's exposed. It's the first time in a long time where you can actually hear what you've been avoiding. The fear, the fatigue, the truth that no one's coming to fix it for you. No one's clapping. No one's validating. It's just you and everything you've been pushing aside. And in that moment, your mind does what it's been trained to do. Reach for noise. Reach for escape. But if you can sit through it, if you can stay in the silence just a little longer, something shifts. You start to hear another voice. Not the loud one, not the one fueled by anxiety or ego, but the one underneath it all. The one you forgot was there. The one that doesn't care about impressing anyone. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand. It just speaks clear, steady, and real. That voice, that's you. Not the performer, not the survivor. You. And for the first time in maybe a long time, you realize that silence isn't loneliness. It's presence. It's the space where everything unnecessary falls away, and only what matters is left. You realize how much you've abandoned yourself just to stay connected. How often you've drowned out your own truth just to be accepted. how long you've ignored your intuition just to avoid confrontation. But now, in this stillness, there's nowhere left to hide. And maybe that's the gift. Because silence doesn't lie to you. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't bend for your ego. It just reflects back what's true. And once you face that truth, not run from it, not edit it, everything changes. You don't come out of the silence with a plan. You come out with clarity. And once you've heard your soul speak, the noise can never own you the same way again. It's a hard truth, one you don't want to admit, even to yourself. But deep down, you've already felt it. You've outgrown people you never thought you'd lose. You've looked across the table at someone you once shared everything with, and realized there's nothing left to say. And that hurts. Because no one prepares you for this part of growth, the shedding, the quiet distance, the shift you can't quite explain but can no longer ignore. You keep trying to shrink yourself back down to fit the version of you they were comfortable with. You laugh at things that don't feel funny. You stay silent when your heart's screaming to speak. But inside, you know the version of you they love isn't the one that's trying to emerge. It's the one that stayed small, the one that didn't ask for too much, the one that played along to keep the peace. But that's not you anymore. And the more you evolve, the more their discomfort starts to show. You notice the subtle jabs, the passive distance, the way your wins are met with silence, the way your boundaries feel like betrayal to them. And it breaks something in you, because part of you still wants to be understood, accepted, chosen. But here's the moment that will define you. Not the climb, but the choice. The choice to keep growing, even when it costs you connection. The choice to walk alone, rather than shrink to be loved. The choice to trust that the people meant for your highest self won't be threatened by your light. You were never meant to carry everyone with you. The path you're on isn't crowded. It's not supposed to be, because transformation isn't a group activity. It's a personal war, and it will strip away everything and everyone that doesn't align with where you're going. And yes, that means some goodbyes won't come with closure. Some people will leave without explanation. Some will resent you for becoming someone they no longer recognize. Let them misunderstand you. Let them outgrow you. Let them walk. Because the deeper truth is, you're not becoming someone new. You're returning to someone ancient. Someone you buried to be accepted. Someone wild, real, honest, and powerful. And that version of you, that version won't fit into the rooms you once sat in, won't make sense to the people who only knew you as fragile, accommodating, agreeable. But when you finally reach that mountain, not the metaphorical one, but the you that's been clawing to exist, you'll look around and realize you weren't chasing applause. You were chasing alignment. And in that space, you'll feel something more powerful than belonging. You'll feel home. It's easy to forget. When life hits you hard, when things fall apart without warning, when you're standing in the rubble of a version of your life you thought was safe. It's easy to feel like you've been thrown into something you never asked for, like you're just a passenger in your own story. You didn't choose the betrayal. You didn't choose the loss. You didn't choose to be let down, abandoned, forgotten. But here's what you do choose. What you do every single day, even when you don't realize it. You choose what it makes you. You choose who you become in response to it. Most people don't recognize that power because pain makes everything feel automatic. You hurt, so you shut down. You fail, so you stop trying. You get rejected, so you begin rejecting yourself first. And that cycle becomes your normal. Not because you're weak, but because somewhere along the way, you forgot you had another option. You always do. You can choose to fight the same battles, or you can choose to walk away. You can choose to keep proving yourself to people who will never see you, or choose to stop explaining yourself at all. You can choose to shrink, or rise. But none of that happens by accident. It happens in the quiet, private moments, the ones no one sees. The ones where you wake up and feel that heaviness sitting on your chest and still decide to move. The moments where you're tempted to give in to that old story, the one that says you'll never be more than this, and instead you decide to write a new one. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are not bound to the version of you that survived. You are not obligated to carry every expectation, every opinion, every old label that was placed on you before you knew who you were. You can let it go. You can release yourself from the script you didn't write. And you can choose, not the easier road, not the guaranteed outcome, but the one that feels like truth. That's your power, not in controlling life, but in responding to it with full awareness that no matter what it hands you, you still get to decide. To rise or retreat, to shut down or open, to live small or finally take up space. And the most radical thing you'll ever do is give yourself the permission you've been waiting on for years. The permission to move forward, to stop waiting for clarity and begin with courage, to stop doubting and start deciding, because no one's going to hand you the life you want, but you can build it. One choice at a time. There's a part of you that no one sees. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't need a spotlight. It's quiet, almost invisible, but it's real. You know it's real because no matter how much life has thrown at you, it's still there. That spark, that thing inside you that refused to die, even when you tried to bury it, even when the world told you it was too much, too intense, too unrealistic, too different. You listened for a while. You tried to dim it down for peace, for acceptance, for survival. But some part of you never really surrendered, even on your worst days, when your chest was tight and the silence in your mind felt endless. Something still flickered underneath the weight of it all. It was faint, yes, but it burned, and it kept burning, no matter how much pain tried to smother it, no matter how many people left, no matter how many times you were made to feel like you had to become someone else just to be loved. That fire, it's not ambition, it's not motivation. It's not something you turn on when you feel inspired. It's something you are. It's your truth, raw, unedited, and unshakable. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't seek applause. It just exists. And when you finally stop running from it, when you stop molding yourself into something more acceptable, more likable, more tame, you'll realize this fire wasn't meant to be hidden. It was meant to be followed. The problem is, you were taught to doubt it, conditioned to question it. Every time you spoke up, someone called you too much. Every time you dreamed bigger, someone reminded you to be realistic. Every time you showed your full self, someone made you feel like it was a threat. So you shrank. You called it maturity. You called it compromise. But deep down, it was silence, and it hurt. Not because you forgot who you were, but because you remembered every single day and kept pretending you didn't. That's the pain, not the rejection, not the failure, but the distance between who you are and who you settled to be. And here's the moment that changes everything. The moment you stop denying that flame, when you stop negotiating with it, when you stop apologizing for it. That's when it grows. And you don't have to announce it. You don't have to prove it. You just live from it, move from it, speak from it, and suddenly, everything begins to shift. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You remembered. And once you do, once you realize that the fire was never something you had to earn, or justify, or protect, but something that is you, nothing, and I mean nothing, will ever shake you again.